Now let's bring in Fawaz Gerges. He's in London and he's a professor of international relations at the London School of Economics. Always such a pleasure having you on the program, Fawaz. If you listen to Donald Trump, it seems like this international stabilization force of 20,000 troops, though, that's almost pretty much a done deal already. Is it that simple, though, to deploy these 20,000 troops from all these countries and sending them into Gaza?
Thanks for having me, as always. I doubt it very much. We are at the beginning of a very complex and long process. What the Americans are talking about is a police enforcing force as opposed to a peacekeeping force. And the second part of this international security force, this force will not be under the authority of the United Nations. It will be under the authority of the boards of peace led by the United States. And the reason why this is a very important point, a peace enforcing force, because the key mission of this particular force, according to the Americans' proposal, is to demilitarize Gaza and decommission, including decommissioning of weapons by Hamas and other Palestinian resistance groups. I doubt it very much whether many nations would commit troops to such a force enforcing, a peace enforcing force, because it could potentially, come into confrontation with Hamas and other Palestinian groups. So it's the beginning of a process. We have to wait and see what the final mandate or mission of this particular force. But again, at this particular stage, I would say we don't have clarity on what we are talking about at this particular moment.
Well, one thing that Donald Trump mentioned in his peace plan, this 20-point plan about this border of peace, is that it's supposed to be led by Donald Trump himself. He's pretty much going to be the boss of this border of peace. Is that a good thing? Is this a good way of governing Gaza for the next, 2 years?
No, I don't think so. I don't think anyone believes so, except the Trump administration and the Netanyahu-led government. I think a much more effective force should be led by the Palestinians. This force, regardless of what you call it, should be a Palestinian-led force. To give you an idea what I mean, the King of Jordan, King Abdullah II, and he is a close ally of the United States. When he asked about what kind of force you want in Gaza, he said, we want a peacekeeping force as opposed to a peace enforcing force, which will be led by the Palestinians. This peacekeeping force, according to King Abdullah II, should really help the Palestinians govern themselves, should help the Palestinians basically begin the healing, the social and spiritual and physical healing and the reconstruction of Gaza. An international force led by the Americans, particularly President Trump, will not really take the Palestinians into account. It does not take into account Palestinian agency, and it sidelines even the Palestinian Authority in the occupied West Bank. And that's why I hope that the discussions in the Security Council and in the United Nations in the next few days basically push the Americans to take into account the critical and pivotal role of the Palestinians themselves, who basically should be put in charge of their own security, as opposed to President Trump and his allies, the Israelis, basically deciding the mandate of this particular force and the mission of this particular force.
So this Palestinian ruling then that you're talking about, what's that going to look like? I mean, the Israelis, they keep on rejecting the Palestinian Authority, saying the PA has no role in the future governance of Gaza, even though the PA is mentioned in Trump's peace plan. Are you seeing public democratic elections taking place, or in what way will the Palestinians be able to rule themselves?
Well, first of all, we need to understand that Egypt and Turkey and Jordan are already basically training Palestinian police force, a major critical segment of the Palestinian force. And secondly, you have to ask people in Gaza. The people in Gaza do not really want the return of colonialism. The people of Gaza would like to be basically governed by their own people. So for this particular moment, you're talking about the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian Authority, together with other Palestinian groups. Let's also remind our audience that the Palestinians have been meeting, in Egypt, trying to really decide on one particular force that will be in charge of Gaza. And you mentioned that the American 20 points plan. The American 20 points plan basically makes a vague reference to Palestinian statehood. It does not really talk about the establishment of a Palestinian state or basically a clear pathway to a Palestinian statehood. And at the end of the day, what everyone would like to see, not only an international security force demilitarizing Gaza and providing security for Israel and protecting the Palestinians in Gaza. At the end of the process, we would like to see a Palestinian state. We would like the Palestinians be in charge of their own governing process, having elections, giving the Palestinians basically a voice in what kind of self-determination they want. But again, as it stands, the American 20 points basically focuses mainly on the technical aspects, on demilitarizing Gaza, including decommissioning weapons from Hamas and other groups and protecting Israeli security. And it does not really talk about the withdrawal of the Israeli forces from Gaza. Israel continues to occupy 53% of Gaza.
Yeah. Fawaz Gerges, always good to hear your insights on the program. Thank you so much, sir.